I never thought a simple workout could ruin my life, or at least make me question my sanity. But that's exactly what happened 2 months ago, the day I decided to change gyms. It started out normal, early morning, air smelling like disinfectant and sweat, weights clanging like background noise. I'd been struggling with self-confidence for years, and joining this new place was my way of starting over. Everyone seemed focused on their routines, not paying attention. Everyone except him. He was the kind of guy you notice instantly, tall, shredded, loud. The type who flexes in front of mirrors and shouts, "Let's go," even when no one's spotting him. Everyone called him Blake. I didn't know him, but it didn't take long before he knew me or decided I'd be his new target. It started small, a laugh when I dropped a dumbbell, a mocking smirk when I checked my form. Then, one day, as I was setting up for a deadlift, he walked right behind me and said, "Careful, man, wouldn't want to hurt yourself pretending you know what you're doing." His buddies laughed. My blood boiled, but I stayed quiet. I wasn't there to make enemies, but he didn't stop. He just got louder, bolder, more cruel. By the third week, it was like Blake made it his mission to ruin every workout I had. If I switched machines, he'd follow. If I put on headphones, he'd tap my shoulder to make sure I heard his next insult. "You sure that's your working weight?" he'd sneer. "My girlfriend warms up with that." His friends howled every time, like it was the funniest thing in the world. The staff didn't intervene. Blake was a regular, popular, even friends with one of the trainers. I was just the quiet new guy. One day I finally snapped. I turned, met his smirk head-on and said, "Why don't you focus on your form instead of running your mouth?" The laughter died instantly. His expression shifted, surprise first, then amusement. "Oh, the newbie talks," he said, stepping closer. "Cute." Before I could react, he reached out and racked my weights mid-set. My back twisted, and I barely caught the bar before it slammed down. My heart was racing, adrenaline spiking. "You could have injured me," I shouted. "Then maybe don't come in here pretending you're one of us," he said, his grin returning. "This is my gym." I walked out that day shaking, not from fear, but from rage. I told myself I'd report him, but by the next morning, things got worse. When I came back, there was something taped to my locker. A photo, grainy, taken from behind me as I worked out. On the back, in messy black marker, it said, "Stick to the machines, loser." I froze. Someone had been watching me, taking pictures. My hands went cold. I tore the photo off and looked around. Blake wasn't there, but his friends were. One of them made direct eye contact and smirked. I wanted to leave, but something in me, maybe pride, maybe pure anger, refused. I finished my workout, forcing myself to ignore the laughter. Yet I couldn't shake the feeling that every move I made was being watched. That night when I got home, I found another photo slipped under my apartment door. It was the same gym picture, but this time it was closer. Someone had followed me. I slammed the door shut and locked it, my hands trembling. This wasn't just gym bullying anymore. Someone had been at my apartment door. The hall was quiet, no footsteps, no sounds, just that photo lying face down on my carpet. I picked it up, same grainy style, same angle, but now the note on the back was different. 3 words, all caps, "Don't push it." I sat on my couch, staring at the photo, trying to make sense of it. Blake was a bully, but would he really cross this line? Was this his idea of a joke, or something worse? My stomach churned. I'd seen enough crime shows to know this wasn't harmless. I tried to call the gym, but it was late. No one picked up. Finally, I called my friend Alex, who lived across town. "I think someone's following me," I whispered. "From the gym." He told me to breathe, stay calm, and promised to come over the next morning. But that night, I didn't sleep. Every creak of the floorboards upstairs made my heart race. The next day, I decided to confront it head-on. I went to the gym, same time as always. Blake was there, laughing with his buddies, doing heavy squats. My heart pounded, but I walked straight up to him. "Did you leave this at my apartment?" I asked, shoving the photo toward him. His eyes flicked down, then back up at me. For a moment, I thought I saw genuine confusion. "What the hell is this?" he said. "Is that you?" "Don't play dumb," I snapped. You've been harassing me for weeks." He leaned closer, voice low. "I don't know who's been messing with you, but it's not me. I don't do whatever this is." I didn't believe him, but his reaction wasn't what I expected. No smirk, no laughter, just annoyance and maybe a hint of worry. He turned to his friends. "You guys do this?" They shook their heads, looking almost nervous. For the first time, Blake didn't seem like the predator. He seemed spooked. That evening, Alex came over. We sat at my kitchen table, both staring at the two photos. "If this isn't him, then who?" Alex asked. "Maybe someone else at the gym." "I don't know," I said, "but they know where I live, and they're escalating." Alex suggested installing a camera at my door. We did, mounting a small motion-activated one above the frame before he left. It gave me some comfort, a thin layer of security. Around midnight, as I sat on my couch scrolling through my phone, my camera app sent an alert. "Motion detected at your door." My blood went cold. I tapped the notification. The screen showed a shadowy figure standing just outside my door, hood up, hands in pockets. They didn't move. They didn't knock. They just stood there for a full minute, then slowly turned and walked away. I zoomed in, my heart in my throat. The grainy image showed a glimpse of their face, and it was Blake. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. It was definitely not Blake. The image was blurry, but the figure's build was smaller, more wiry. A hood shadowed most of the face, but there was something unsettling in how still they'd been, like they weren't nervous or hurried, like they were waiting. I saved the video and sent it to Alex immediately. He called within seconds. "Jude, that's not Blake," he said, his voice low. "Do you recognize them?" "No," I whispered. "I've never seen this person before in my life." For the next 2 nights, I hardly slept. Every creak of the building, every gust of wind outside felt like someone standing just beyond the door. The app kept alerting me at random hours, 2 a.m., 4 a.m., but when I checked, the camera showed nothing, just empty hallway. Then, on the 4th night, I got a new notification, "Motion detected." When I opened it, my heart nearly stopped. The hooded figure was back, but this time, they were holding something. It was a small object, hard to make out in the grainy night vision, but when I zoomed in, I felt the blood drain from my face. It was a dumbbell plate, one of the small 2.5 kg ones from the gym. They bent down, and for a split second, the hood slipped back just enough for me to catch part of their face. Sharp features, wide eyes, a slight chilling smile. They slid the weight under my door like an offering and then walked away. I didn't dare open the door. I waited, listening, every muscle tense. Only when silence settled did I finally creep forward and look. There it was, a small dumbbell plate lying on my doormat. On the metal surface, someone had scrawled with a black marker, "Strong enough yet." I snatched it up with shaking hands, then threw it into a bag and locked myself in the bathroom. My reflection in the mirror looked pale, haunted. Whoever this was, they wanted me scared, and it was working. The next morning, I took everything, the photos, the video, the plate, to the police. The officer at the front desk listened, nodding, but his expression was skeptical. "Could be a prank," he said. "Anyone from that gym could have taken those." I wanted to scream, "They know where I live. They're leaving things at my door." He sighed, "We'll file a report, but without a clear ID or a direct threat, there's not much we can do." I walked out of the station feeling more alone than ever. Even Alex didn't know what to say anymore. Everyone kept telling me the same thing: change gyms, change your locks, call security, but none of that felt like enough. That night, I set up a second camera inside my apartment, facing the door. I sat on the couch with the lights off, waiting. If they came back, I'd catch them. And around 1:37 a.m., I heard it. A faint, deliberate clangs, metal on metal. The sound was unmistakable, a dumbbell plate hitting the floor just outside my door. My stomach clenched, and a cold sweat broke across my forehead. I muted my phone, crouched low, and peered through the peephole. The hallway was dim, the overhead light flickering like something out of a bad horror movie. And there, just a few feet from my door, the hooded figure knelt on the carpet. slowly sliding another small weight plate across the floor toward me. I tried to stay calm, but my breathing grew ragged. My fingers hovered over the 911 dial screen. The figure stopped, head tilted, as though listening. Then, in one smooth motion, they stood up and faced my door directly. I couldn't see their face, the hood cast it in darkness, but I could feel their eyes on me, even through the wood. They raised a hand slowly and knocked, 3 times, soft, deliberate. Every muscle in my body locked. The knocking stopped, but the presence didn't move. I could still hear their breathing, faint through the door. I whispered to myself, "Call the cops, call the cops." My thumb hovered over the button, but I couldn't press it. Some part of me wanted to know what they wanted. Then, just as suddenly as they'd arrived, they turned and walked away. No rush, no panic, just a slow retreat down the hallway. I waited until the sound of footsteps faded, then finally unlocked the door and cracked it open. The hall was empty. Only a single weight plate sat in front of my door, this one marked in thick black letters, "Too weak." I grabbed it, slammed the door shut, and locked every lock. My hands shook so violently I dropped the plate on the floor, where it rolled and clanged like an echo of their presence. I didn't sleep. I just sat on the couch, staring at my door, waiting for the next sound. At sunrise, I showed Alex the new video. He looked genuinely scared now. "This isn't just harassment anymore," he said. "This is an obsession." He offered to stay with me, but I shook my head. "No, if they're going to show up again, I want to catch them myself." So that night, I set up both cameras, one outside, one inside, and sat in the dark with my phone in my hand. Hours passed. Midnight came and went. Nothing. Then at 2:04 a.m., both cameras pinged at once. Motion detected. I opened the feed. My stomach turned to ice. The hooded figure was no longer outside. They were inside. I froze, staring at the feed on my phone. The camera inside my apartment, the one facing the door, showed the hooded figure standing right there in my living room. I hadn't heard the lock turn, hadn't heard the door open, yet they were inside. They weren't moving, just standing still, facing the camera. Slowly, they raised their head, as if aware I was watching. And then, with a deliberate motion, they lifted their hand and waved. My heart hammered so loud it drowned everything else out. I scrambled for the baseball bat I kept by the couch, dialed 911 with my other hand. The dispatcher answered, but all I could say was, "Someone's in my apartment, please hurry." The figure tilted their head, like they were listening to me. Then they turned and walked slowly toward my bedroom. I crept after them, bat raised, my phone still clutched to my ear. "Stay on the line," the dispatcher said. "Officers are on the way." My hands were slick with sweat, my knees weak. I pushed open the bedroom door. Empty. The window was shut. No sign of anyone. I spun around, scanning every corner. Nothing. The apartment was dead quiet except for my own ragged breathing. I ran back to the living room. The hooded figure was gone. The door was still locked from the inside. The cameras showed nothing but static. My stomach churned. When the police arrived minutes later, they searched the entire place. No forced entry, no footprints, no fingerprints. The only thing left was the dumbbell plate, now lying on my couch with fresh writing, "Catch ME." The officers told me what I already feared. There was no evidence of anyone being there. "Could be a prank," one of them said, "or maybe stress." I wanted to scream at him. I had footage, I had photos, I had a freaking plate with writing on it, but somehow none of it felt enough. They left. Alex came over and stayed the night, trying to calm me down. "We'll figure this out," he said, but I could see in his eyes he didn't believe it. Around 3 a.m., as Alex dozed off on the couch, my phone buzzed again. A new message from an unknown number, just one photo. It was me, sitting on my own couch, bat in hand. Taken from just a few feet away. My whole body went cold. The photo wasn't from the camera feed. It was from a completely different angle, closer, sharper, as if someone had been standing right there in my living room. I jolted off the couch, scanning every corner of the apartment. Alex woke up instantly. "What's wrong?" he asked, but the words stuck in my throat. I just handed him my phone. His eyes widened. "Holy," he whispered, jumping to his feet. We tore through every room, every closet, every cabinet. Nothing, no open windows, no sign of anyone. The apartment felt like a tomb. That's when Alex said the thing I'd been avoiding. What if they've been inside this whole time? We decided not to spend another night there. We left the apartment at dawn, going straight to the police with the new photo. This time, the officer's expression shifted. He called a detective who started asking real questions. "Did you notice anything unusual at the gym before this began?" he asked. "Anyone you didn't recognize?" I told him everything: Blake, the harassment, the photos, the plates. His brow furrowed. "You're not the first person to complain about that gym," he muttered. "There's been incidents." That word, incidents, stuck in my head. We went back to my apartment with 2 officers. They did a full sweep again, checking the vents, the crawlspace. Nothing. Just as they were about to leave, one of them found something under the sink, a small black GoPro taped to the pipe, still blinking red. The detective prodded it loose and scrolled through the footage. The video started with normal apartment shots, me cooking, me on my laptop, but then switched to close-ups, filmed from different angles around my own living room. Someone had been coming in while I was gone. Then came the most recent clip. My stomach turned to ice. It showed me and Alex sleeping on the couch last night. The camera shook slightly, as if held by a trembling hand. The final frame froze on me holding the bat, eyes wide with fear. The detective looked up, his face pale. "This wasn't some random stalker," he said quietly. "This was planned." And then my phone buzzed again. A new message. No photo this time, just text. "Too slow." The detective immediately called for backup. Alex and I were ushered out of the apartment and into the hallway while 2 uniformed officers swept the place again. My phone buzzed once more, another message from the same number. This time it was a video. My thumb trembled as I tapped it. The clip opened to a dimly lit basement. The camera panned across rows of dumbbells and gym equipment and then stopped on a door, a familiar door, my building's maintenance room. My chest tightened. Whoever had been stalking me was using the basement of my own building as their hideout. The detective signaled the officers and we all went downstairs. The basement smelled of damp concrete and rust. In the corner, the maintenance door stood slightly ajar. He pushed it open. Inside was a makeshift lair. The small room was lined with shelves of gym gear, boxes of protein bars, and a tangle of wires connected to multiple monitors. On the screens were live feeds of my apartment, the hallway, even the street outside. And sitting at the center of it all, hunched over a laptop, was Blake. He turned slowly, his face pale, eyes sunken but burning with a manic light. "You weren't supposed to find this yet," he said, voice low, almost trembling. "I was making you stronger." The officers rushed in, pinning him against the wall. He didn't resist, just kept staring at me with that same unblinking intensity. As they led him out, I caught a glimpse of the dumbbell plates stacked neatly in a corner, each one marked with black letters: "Too weak, catch ME, strong enough." When it was all over, the detective turned to me. "He's been sneaking into your apartment for weeks," he said. "He had master keys from an old job as a maintenance contractor. You're lucky you called when you did." I moved out of that apartment the next day. I quit that gym. Even now, months later, I still wake up at night convinced I hear a soft knock on my door, 3 slow taps. I've never touched a dumbbell again.